This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on Film Riot, we show some laser gun action and an interesting way to get an off feeling to your shot.
Son of a bitch! Eris!
Yeah?
I will in your mouth!
Ew, what?
I will take a poop in your mouth!
Why would you do that? That's disgusting.
You know some people don't even have toilet paper?
I don't understand.
You think about that!
What's happening?
You were so irresponsible, Eris Quinn, once!
Okay. What'd you get? I just threw up a rainbow.
Guess it's on the wrong setting.
What'd you shoot me for? The toilet paper goes over. Not under. Never under.
That's what this is about!
Let that be a lesson to you. Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes the mystery out of the effects and techniques that goes to some of your favorite Hollywood films. I'm your host, Ryan Conley, and I got myself a space gun. This guy, right here. A friend of mine is a very talented prop maker. Some of you may have seen the link that I shot out last week. He actually had a Kickstarter to start selling these guns. They are customizable and awesome. The Kickstarter is over, but if you are interested and still want to see what that was all about, you can see the Kickstarter page here, even though it is in fact over at this point. But since I got this bad boy in the mail, I thought it would be fun to answer a question that I get every now and again, including this one that I got almost a year ago. Right guy, I'm doing a sci-fi and wanted to shoot a laser gun, but also have an effect where the gun builds energy before shooting. Any thoughts? I have several thoughts. Some include spandex and coconut butter. But specifically for this, yeah, I got one. So we got two effects here, the actual shot and the energy build. I'm gonna explain them both separately, the first one being the shot. So first thing we're gonna do is get our footage, which we shot already, and we bring it into our effects software. And before I do, another question that I get a lot lately is if you should do your effects, then edit, or edit first. For me, you should always edit first. This way, you're not doing more work than needs to be done. So first, I will take my footage into Adobe Premiere, which is the editor of my choice, edit my scene together, and then send those shots that I need VFX on to After Effects. This way, I'm only doing the exact amount of time I need on each shot and not spending extra time that doesn't need to be spent on the whole process. But now that I have my shot in After Effects, I can start slapping some sci-fi lovin' up on this lady. First thing that we are going to do is track the center point of the gun barrel, which we will use the target tracker for this, then add that data to a null layer. Next, I'll bring in particular, which I'll be using for the beam. The reason I am using this is because we can parent the start point to our track, and it uses AE's Camera 3D so we can get actual depth of field. Inside particular, set the particles per second to high medium-ish number like 500, then slide the layer left and trim it down so that the particles are fully grown once that layer cuts in. Next, we'll use a point emitter type and parent the XY position to the tracker null we created. This way, the pivot of the beam will be from that tracker. Now, switch direction to directional with spread at 0. This will give us a straight line of particles. Then, with the XY rotation, I will just match by eye, since this is just on for a few frames. Next, I'm gonna jack the velocity up pretty high, since this will activate motion blur and give us a look of fast movement. After that, set velocity random to 20, which we're doing this to have some spacing in between the particles and make it a bit uneven. Since nothing in reality is perfect, this breaks up the pattern a bit and adds interest. And then we will create a new comp, make a circle shape and blur that a bit, then bring that into our project, put it at the bottom and shut off its visibility. Now move back to particular, go into particle, set the life to 1 second, particle type to texture polygon, and use that circle layer as the texture. Then set size to 32, size random to 41, and finally set the color to a bluish or whatever color you're looking for. And now you can see that with the circle texture and the variation in velocity and scale, we get some futuristic looking rings happening. Next, I will add glow to this layer as well. Set the threshold to around 29, the radius to 46, the intensity to 1.4, and this is just gonna help us fill in that beam and give it that nice little light glowy looky thingy that we got there. Then I will have this layer last about 4 frames and we are ready to move on. Next up, we grab a firecracker asset from Action Essentials. This is a nice quick explosion that then has some lingering sparks, which will work perfectly for the type of look that we're going for. I'll scale and position this, set it to add, and parent it to our null layer. And now, so far, we have this, but we're not done. After a quick break, we're gonna finish this off and show the power buildup, energy, and then it goes like this, and then it shoots. Looks good. Domain names, you may need one. You probably do if you're a filmmaker, entrepreneur, businessman of any kind, and a .net from domain.com is going to be perfect for you. .net universally is known by peoples, and it injects your website with all sorts of credibility that people like. You immediately discover advantages from building your web presence around a .net. And if you already have a .com, you're like, I don't need it, I already got a .com. You should protect your brand. Get the corresponding .net, and then you got both of them. That way somebody's not buying the .net and being like, hey, I'm this guy. And they're not that guy. That's identity theftiveness. We've talked about that before. Find a .net at domain.com. It's affordable. Their .net is only $8.99 a year, which is ridiculously affordable if I do say so myself. And the guys at domain.com want to hook you up with 15% off their already super affordable service when you use the coupon code FilmRiot at domain.com's checkout. So that's right. Use the coupon code FilmRiot, save yourself about 15% off. Not about, exactly 50% off at checkout. Because when you think domain names, think domain.com.
Logo.
And we're back into it. First thing we're going to do is add a solid and then slap optical flares up on that mother lover. Pick the flare you like, then set that to add and parent the XY position to our null. Next, we're going to keyframe the brightness to come in from 0 to 100 over a few frames as the gun charges up, and then from 100 back to 0 over 2 frames once we're at the shooting point. I will also keyframe the scale to go right the freak up at the point that the shot is given, like this. It's just gonna happen over 1 frame, just whack, just whammy there, just ziggity bing bing, you know what I mean? Then twirl open flicker, make type smooth, speed to 55 and amount to 55 as well. This is going to cause the light to pulsate a bit throughout the shot, which is what gives us that charging feel. Then duplicate this optical, how was that?
Grand Robbins.
Then duplicate this optical flare layer, go into the plugin, and find something a bit different like this with these streaks. So I can now keyframe the rotation of the optical flare to spin like so, giving us a little more movement, a little more detail. And that's just an optional thing. Of course, you can add whatever you'd like here to get the specific look that you want. And the final thing we will do is add these little dancing sprite thingies. To do this, we're gonna add particular again, set the particles per second somewhere in the 400 to 500 range, again, parent our XY position to the null, again, then set your XY and Z rotation to your liking. Velocity is going to be around 820, random to 20, then twirl open particle, set life to 0.4, type to glow sphere, size to 2, size random to 8, because again, nothing is perfect. You want to inject as much randomosity as possible and have variation, because nothing in reality is uniform ever. There's chaos in the world, chaos theory. Ian Malcolm knows. So should you. Then I will set the color to blue again and move to physics. In here, I'm going to set model to air, time to 1, then spin amplitude to 222, frequency to around 17, and fade in, spin to 1, which this is what causes our particles to whip around the gun like crazy as if they're being pulled in and out. But now, with all that added, we add our color grade and more importantly, our sound effects to really sell it, and we have... And the final thing that I want to show you guys is this. I got this idea from watching an episode of Hannibal where I think they did something a little similar. I took it a little further. But let's crack this out real quick, shall we? First, when shooting your footage, move the camera around your actor a bit like so. Then bring the footage into After Effects and add warp stabilizer. Change smoothness to somewhere around 100, and method to position, scale, rotation. Then pre-comp this and send all attributes. Now, we're gonna hit stabilize motion. Choose a point on your actor's face and track forward, then apply. After that, your clip will be going in and out of the frame like so scale up the footage and keyframe position to make sure the clip lines up properly throughout the shot. And now we have this. Since the original footage moves so much and we're using these two different stabilizers, it actually does a pretty bad job of stabilizing it invisibly, which is what we want. Instead of a nice smooth shot, we get this weird wobbly, odd look to the background with our actor mostly staying in the center of the frame, which makes it really feel off. And for my last two things, which are optional things, you don't have to do these two, I duplicated my footage, masked out my actor, inverted that mask so the background shows through and not the actor, then added a radial blur, which I keyframe from 0 to 2, then back down again. Then I copy paste these keyframes throughout the whole clip. Then duplicated this masked out layer, removed the invert so that it's now my actor and not the background, then added bulge to this. Just like the blur, I will now keyframe this to rise or shrink my actor's face, and I will copy paste this throughout the shot as well. And now we have a pretty interesting shot that puts you in the actor's state of mind, ready to vomit some rainbow. But that is it for today, my lovely peoples. Big thank you to the master prop maker, Bill Duran. You can follow him on Twitter right here. You could also check out his YouTube page to see his other awesome works right here. He has a lot of really great build tutorials that you guys would really dig, I think. But as always, Twitter for me. And I'll see you next time when a kid watches me get birthed from a rhino's anus.
Hey man.
Hey man.
Hey man. I'm just gonna shoot a laser. No big deal.
Then bring the footage into After Effects and add warp stabilizer. Change smoothness to someone. Change smoothness to